I feel like I'm 2 days away from being sentenced to death in the UK for journalism. My name is Tommy Robinson. Today, I'm calling on the help of Donald Trump, his administration, and the Republican Party to grant me and my family political asylum in the United States of America. Now, last year, Leeds Crown Court broke every single legal procedure possible. They refused me my own legal representation. They didn't even tell me what I was accused of doing. They didn't ask me to plead guilty or not guilty. They didn't even let me speak. I was sentenced to 13 months in prison in a 10-minute trial, something you'd imagine being held in North Korea. The whole reason for all of this is a cover-up. The whole reason is not wanting the public to realise. Like, for example, that law commission and giving them, it's simple. It's very sensible and it's extremely easy to implement. One website. Why won't they produce one website so journalists can go on? Because if they did, anyone could go on and they would see the amount of secret trials of Muslim rape gangs in every single town and city's court across our entire width of this country. The public would then realise just how many of these cases there are, because every single one of these cases now is given a reporting restriction preventing anyone talking about it. I make this as a direct appeal. I ask American citizens, please make sure somehow, I ask Alex Jones, I ask anyone, make sure this lands from the American government. I know that when I was taken and kidnapped off the street and unlawfully held, which has been proven, I know that congressmen from the Republican Party stepped in. I know that pressure was put on the British government. I'm telling you now, it's not pressure that's needed. I need evacuation out of this country because there are people and dark forces at work in this nation. The same dark forces at work in this nation that want to repel you as the leader of the free world from even entering this country. There are many people in this country who would want to seek the same against you that they seek against me, the same lies that are told about you. I have to fight these lies. I've fought these lies as a young working class man from a town in England. I've had to fight against the labelling, against the stigma, the Nazi, the racist, the fascist, all the words used to destroy a man's reputation. I've had to fight and fight and fight as a single individual. And right now I'm about to be imprisoned. And I'm saying, if you care about freedom like I know you do, I know America loves freedom. I know you'll fight for it and die for it. And so would we. But ours is gone. It's gone. The country's fallen. This week I was found guilty on 3 counts of contempt of court by 2 judges. There was no jury to find me guilty. 2 appointed judges. As I sat in court, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Both judges found me guilty because they believed I breached a reporting restriction on a Muslim child gang rape trial. They also came to the conclusion that me photographing Muslim child rapists while asking them simple questions before they entered court for their verdicts created anxiety for the poor Muslim paedophiles that I'm now to be punished with the full might of the British judicial system. My name is Tommy Robinson. Today, I'm calling on the help of Donald Trump, his administration, and the Republican Party to grant me and my family political asylum in the United States of America. I'm sat here today before you to make my case of political persecution. I have been found guilty of what is the equivalent of exercising First Amendment rights. Benjamin Franklin had the foresight to know this. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech. For more than 10 years, I've been proactive voice, highlighting in the industrialised grooming, the pimping, the beating and the raping of young, vulnerable British girls up and down the length and breadth of my once great country. Successive British governments have sought to silence me, to persecute me. And for what? Trying to stop vulnerable young girls from being sex slaves to gangs of predominantly predatory Muslim men who drugged them, raped them and beat them for years. I have tried and I'll continue to try to get the British government to take action and stop the systematic child abuse that's still going on right now as we sit on screen. These young victims of Muslim rape gangs have been let down so badly, it started at the very top of the Labour-controlled government under Gordon Brown as Prime Minister. The stories are harrowing, disturbing, upsetting. Believe me, I've sat down and I've cried my eyes out. I've sat and heard the stories from victim after victim and family after family. Let me outline to you what has happened in the second trial for contempt of court. The original verdict was appealed due to unfairness and no due process. There were no charges of prejudice in the case or potentially collapse in the trial as the media continued to push out. They originally tried to bring those charges last year but had to remove them as it's been proved in court twice that nothing I said in my live stream could have prejudiced the jury. One charge was for breaching a reporting restriction. The other two charges were for photographing the defendants whilst entering court and, according to the judge, aggressively questioning them. Both of these acts the Attorney General and the government have claimed could have made these poor Muslim child rapists feel anxious and therefore not able to participate in their trial. This is despite the fact the trial had already finished. They had nothing to participate in. The trial had finished, the jury had retired to decide their verdict, which all came back as guilty. I just want to show you now so your American audience understand. Let's look at the anxiety charges first. Let me show you what I actually said outside Leeds Crown Court. I'm at Leeds Crown Court where these men here, let me see. Right lads, how you feeling? How you feeling about your verdict? How you feeling about your verdict? How you feeling about your verdict? What verdict? How you feeling about the verdict? You got your prison bag for you?
Yeah, look at you.
Got your bags for you? You got your bags for you?
Yeah.
How you feeling about the verdict?
Oh, suck your mum's funny. Yeah,
you got no guilt. Is there any guilt? Is there any guilt, mate? Is there any guilt?
Fucking that. It's another bitch.
What, mate? How you doing, you alright?
Your wife's a prostitute.
My wife's a prostitute. My wife's a prostitute. How you doing, mate? What are you in court for today, if you don't mind me asking?
I've been seeing your mum.
What, you've been seeing my mum? Another comment about a woman. What are you in court for, mate? How's the trial gone? How's the trial gone? Yeah, how's the trial gone? How's the trial gone, bro?
I'm the one in court.
You're the one in court, yeah? Why is he carrying your bag then? Anyway. Another comment about your mum. That's every single alleged person who's walked into... Cheers, mate, thanks. Every single alleged person who's walked into court today has made sexual references about women. What was it? Which one? Oh, mate, what are you in court for?
Fuck yourself.
What's that? What are you in court for? Come on, mate.
Why did you just touch him?
This is the verdict. So the trial's ended, the jury are making their mind up, and this is the verdict. This is the verdict today.
Quick 2 minutes with you.
Are you going to arrest me?
Michael is going to explain what's going to happen next, right?
Am I being arrested?
You are being arrested.
I am being arrested.
It wasn't a breach of peace.
Of course,
Of
course, a breach of peace. I'm being arrested.
But the content of what you're
Can we just say
streaming.
The content of what I'm streaming, I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. I'm being arrested for breach of the peace. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. You've all watched this. Can you get me a solicitor? Can you get me a solicitor?
Can you just turn off your live feed?
Can you get me a solicitor?
Turn off your live feed, please.
Yeah?
Do you understand what I've just said to you?
Well, no, can you explain it again?
You're under suspicion for a breach of the peace.
What does that mean? 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 What does that mean?
I've been told that from the feed on your Facebook.
I'm tense. I feel like I'm 2 days away from being sentenced to death in the UK for journalism. Let's be clear. The video you just watched, the questions I asked them as follows. All right, lads, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about your verdict? All right, mate, how are you doing? Are you all right? Hello, mate, what are you in court for today, if you don't mind me asking? How's the trial gone, bro? As you can see, I was actually very polite, despite some of the disgusting abuse that was thrown my way. By claiming that these questions were in any way aggressive. Not claiming, he said that, he skipped this in his summing up, the judge has said my aggressive questioning. The judge has had to say that, and the prosecution have simply lied in court, in open court, in order to back up their ridiculous charge of causing the defendant's anxiety. Now, these monsters have previously been kidnapping and raping young children in gangs for years, in full view of everyone, including the social services, the police forces. Everyone knew it's happening. They don't sound like the anxious type to me. If these men were anxious, it's because they were facing a court case. They're all now subsequently doing 15 years in prison. They were facing a court case. They knew they were guilty. They'd raped dozens of young children. Yet somehow me asking them a simple question as a journalist, I'm now being convicted for causing them anxiety. One of them pushed me in the chest, told me to go fuck myself. I simply said, all right, mate, what are you in court for? The other three are child rapist monsters, coincidentally all made disgusting and vulgar sexual references about female members of my family. One thing's for sure, None of them looked remotely anxious. According to the Attorney General and the judge, I was aggressive. And in the words of the prosecution, I molested them as they entered court. No joke, this is what they said in court. Molested them. These are the guys that have molested and raped children for a decade. The Attorney General, and actually in their prosecution, said that these men must be free to go and come from court without fear of molestation. The reality is, with 16 child statements, witness statements, they shouldn't have been free to come and go from court at all. They should have been on remand. Let's have a look at me now. You've seen the footage that I have just been convicted of. You've seen the footage. Let's have a look at the footage of me entering the Old Bailey for this trial. Let me show you this now.
Tommy Robinson, are you going to face justice for potentially collapsing this trial?
I didn't potentially collapse any trial. I'm actually not in charge. I'm not on trial for potentially collapsing a trial. My charge is causing anxiety to the men walking into court by putting cameras and asking them questions. Exactly what you've just done to me is what I face contempt of court for. Exactly this. Do you think this is causing me anxiety? Look at your actions. That's what I'm facing trial for. I didn't act this way. This is a facade. The whole public know that. That's why the public are here to support me. No, I didn't nearly collapse. That's a lie. You're lying. You're lying. I didn't nearly collapse. The judge's words in that case, nothing I said could have caused prejudice to jury. Nothing. That's the judge's words. That's the judge's words. Read the transcript. Do your job as a journalist. Do your job as a journalist. Were you in contempt of court? No, I wasn't. That's why I was released from prison. The whole case was unlawful. Now, this is politically motivated persecution by a government who want to silence me. That's what this is.
What do you think about the fact they brought these charges back?
I think it tells everyone the fact. Look at what's happening here. Can you see this? Look, I'm in court for causing them anxiety. Look at all these cameras. Look at all these.
President Trump, the American government, Britain has fallen. Even yourself, if you was in Britain, you would be arrested and tried. You would be tried because Sadiq Khan would demand it. The political pressure that has been put on the judiciary system would be the similar pressure that would be put on for yourself. I'm an English man, a British citizen who loves my country, and it hurts me to have to say I have no future here. The only future that lies for me is death. Death at the hands of an establishment who will feed me to Islamic gangs of jihadis within the prison system. I have 48 hours before my sentencing. I previously spent 3 months on solitary confinement for journalism, for breaking no law. The reality is, and I urge you, please, get your lawyers to look through this case. You will expose and see complete corruption. I'm being found guilty when I broke no laws. I've not been tried by my peers. 12 members of the British public, that's the Magna Carta. That's common law. Common law is if members of my peers, if the British public find me guilty, I'd accept my fate. I'm not being tried. This is a backdoor ruling in order for the government to silence me, imprison me, and inevitably have me killed. I'm a father of three with 3 beautiful children and a wife, and a beautiful wife. Last time I was in prison, the police went to my family's home to tell them, and they had intel that there were going to be acid attacks against them. They went to my wife, they went to my mother. They're going to take me away and leave my family vulnerable. My crime? Awakening the British public to the mass problems from open border immigration, importing a culture of dominance and violence. And see, the globalists don't want the public to be aware of this. They don't want people to understand the problems that come with their utopia vision for our world. I've spoke out. I've laid my life. I'm saying to you, I want to keep on fighting, but I can't fight it because I'm going to be killed. And as a journalist, as a British citizen, I beg you, I beg Donald Trump, I beg the American government, just look at my case. If you look at my case, you will see the wrongdoings. My previous, when I tried to fight this case, this is the corruption in this country. The QC, the Queen's Counsel who was representing me, told me to do a deal. And then I was told he didn't want a black mark on his name for fighting my case. That's his job. But he wouldn't fight my case. To understand the level of political correctness that has infected this once great nation. We are imprisoning journalists, and our media celebrate it. I'm being imprisoned for asking a convicted paedophile, how do you feel about your verdict? That is the reality. My conviction for causing anxiety? For causing anxiety. This is even before. I want to get on to the final charges, but this is a direct appeal. on behalf of my family, we love the United States. I have no future here. It's inevitable. I will be murdered, I will be killed, and I will be imprisoned on Thursday for journalism. We talk about North Korea, we talk about China, we talk about Russia. Our freedoms are gone. Our free speech is gone. It's gone. We live in a post-free speech era. And exactly the same, what they've inflicted in this nation, I know they want to do to yours. I know they want to take your freedoms. They want to change your constitution. I know there's people who would take away your rights tomorrow. The difference is they want to do it to you in America. They've done it to us. They've done it to us. Our free speech is gone and it's celebrated. It's celebrated by the people in power who rule over us, the globalists. It's celebrated. It's celebrated when a journalist is being imprisoned. The media, they're not journalists, they're activists. The globalist corporate media, and they have been used as attack dogs against me. I make this as a direct appeal. I ask American citizens, please make sure somehow, I ask Alex Jones, I ask anyone, make sure this lands in the American government. I know that when I was taken and kidnapped off the street and unlawfully held, which has been proven, I know that congressmen from the Republican Party stepped in. I know that pressure was put on the British government. I'm telling you now, it's not pressure that's needed. I need evacuation out of this country because there are people and dark forces at work in this nation. The same dark forces at work in this nation that want to repel you as the leader of the free world from even entering this country. There are many people in this country who would want to seek the same against you that they seek against me, the same lies that are told about you. I have to fight these lies. I've fought these lies as a young working class man from a town in England. I've had to fight against the labelling, against the stigma, the Nazi, the racist, the fascist, all the words used to destroy a man's reputation. I've had to fight it and fight it and fight it as a single individual. And right now I'm about to be imprisoned. And I'm saying, if you care about freedom like I know you do, I know America loves freedom. I know you'll fight for it and die for it. And so would we. But ours is gone. It's gone. The country's fallen. Everything you've watched, as I go through the details in this case, you will see that every word I'm saying is true. It's factual. They're going against the law of the land. They are not judging or sentencing by the law of the land. And once they do that label, people want to label me with all these different labels. The difference is I walk the streets of the UK. I am as well known in my country, and I'm loved and I'm hated. A very similar situation to you, to Mr. President, to Donald Trump in America. I don't have security. I walk every day on my own. I walk everywhere on my own. I don't have the money to fund a security fund to continue it. You see Nigel Farage in this country. He wouldn't last one day walking the streets. He would not last one day without his protection. I walk them every day. I walk them every single day with conviction and my head held high for what I stand for and for what I want. And I say that everything has been thrown at me. And what I realise now is that my government don't care if the world's watching. They don't care if they're breaking the law. They don't care. And on Thursday, I will be, what I'd say is sentenced to death. Every single prison in this country is overrun and controlled by jihadi gangs. By jihadi gangs. I'm saying to the world watching, if this was happening to a journalist in any other country, in China, in Russia, in North Korea, human rights lawyers would be fighting to defend them. Political correctness is that powerful in this country. I can't find a human rights lawyer to defend me or even mention me. Every time we speak to lawyers about anything, as soon as they hear it's my name, no, we walk away. Even getting an affidavit signed last week by a law firm. I went to sign a law firm. When they see it was me, nope. That is the power of political correctness. That is how infected my nation is. And I'm appealing to you directly for help. There's been an organisation in the United States, the Middle East Forum, who have also funded our fight for free speech in the UK. They've funded and tried to fight and have me released and continue to fight my legal battles with me. So a thank you to them. I know so many Americans step forward when they see our freedoms are disappearing and that our people are under attack. I want to address the final charge, the breach in the Section 4.2 reporting restriction. Previously, I was ignorant to the rules around reporting restrictions and the rules around court. I'm a citizen journalist. I hadn't studied, I hadn't been to university. So I began to learn, and I paid privately to go to one of London's leading law firms, Kingsley Napoli. I went for training on contempt of court, for training on reporting restrictions. I went, I learned, I downloaded and read the judiciary's own paper. It's called The Reporting Restrictions in the Criminal Courts. It's available to download on the judiciary's own website, their website. In fact, the Lord Chief Justice himself, the lead of our courts, he introduces this report, stating that it's a practical guide for judges and the media on the statutory and common law principles which should be applied with regards to reporting restrictions. All you have to do is go on Google, put in reporting restrictions, criminal courts, you'll find it as the top link, okay? Now, let me read for you what it says, yeah? Any reporting restriction imposes potential criminal liability on media organisations, journalists or editors who breach it. If a breach occurs, media organisations and their employees may face unlimited fines. No mention of prison. For these reasons, it is essential that any reporting restriction should be reduced to writing as soon as possible. It should be clear and precise and in terms and drawn up as a court order as soon as practicable. Once orders have been made, they should be drawn to the attention of the media by being shown on the court list and on the door of the court, and wherever possible, sent to relevant local or national media organisations. Court staff should respond positively to media organisations' requests for assistance in relation to the existence of terms of a reporting restriction. Okay? Now, let me show you the court listings from the day before I went to court that day. Clearly, this is the court listings from the day before. As you can see from the online court listing the day before, they mentioned that the jury had retired, but crucially, there's no mention of any reporting restrictions in place. Clearly, it's not there, okay? This is a screenshot that I took that we were researching for this case. Now, of course, this led me to think the trial had finished, the jury's retired. Maybe the strict restrictions have been lifted. When I turned up to court that morning, I went into court. I asked a member of staff if there was still a reporting restriction on this case. The prosecution's own witness confirmed this in court. He told me he didn't know of any reporting restriction on the case. He did not provide me with the details as he is required to do by the judiciary's own guidelines. Now, my cameraman also went into court and took a picture of the screen. He looked at the court door, both of which had no notification of any reporting restriction. The Attorney General read my statement because with a civil case, I had to give my statement 3 or 4 weeks prior to court. I told them you didn't have reporting restrictions on the screen, on the door. You had no reporting restrictions anywhere visible. Okay. Because of that, the Attorney General got a statement trying to disprove me by interviewing the manager of Leeds Crown Court. Unfortunately for the prosecution, she actually confirmed everything I said. In her own words, they had failed to adhere to the legal guidelines. In fact, the details of the reporting restrictions were never, ever once loaded onto the court system during the entirety of the 6-week trial. Now, let me show you this. This is the Law Commission, the British Law Commission. So the Attorney General in 2014 asked the Law Commission to do an investigation into contempt of court. So this is in there. It is now standard practice that any reporting restriction is shown on the Crown Court list under the name of the relevant case, allowing a ready means of checking whether there are such restrictions in place. Now, that's I've just showed you it wasn't on there, okay? I've showed you. Now, in March 2014, the Law Commission recommended that there should be a single publicly accessible website enabling the media and members of the public to find out if an order has been made under Section 4.2 of the Contempt of Court Act 1981. This website should include a restricted area where, for a charge, certain users could find out the details of the reporting restriction and could sign up for automated alerts of new orders. At the time of writing this website has not been established. The contempt of court law is out of date. It was set before the invention of the internet. The high degree of confusion around the guidelines to reporting restrictions led the Law Commission to conduct a 6-month review and a recommendation paper in 2014, specifically about contempt of court. The Law Commission found that the rules and guidelines are extremely confusing and could lead to a journalist mistakenly landing in contempt of court. Their sole recommendation, their one recommendation from their 6-month review of the government was to create one national website that all the details for trials with reporting restrictions are placed. That would allow the media, would allow journalists, members of the public access. This is a cover-up. The whole reason is not wanting the public to realise. For example, that law commission and giving them, it's simple. It's very sensible and it's extremely easy to implement. One website. Why won't they produce one website so journalists can go on? Because if they did, anyone could go on and they would see the amount of secret trials of Muslim rape gangs in every single town and city's court across our entire width of this country. The public would then realise just how many of these cases there are. Because every single one of these cases now is given a reporting restriction preventing anyone talking about it. That's the reality of what it is. So that is exactly why I know I've come 34 seconds. That is why they haven't implemented that. This was their sole recommendation from a report by the Law Commission for the Attorney General. Even in the Attorney General's skeleton argument against me, this is how laughable this entire case is. In their own skeleton committal proceedings against me, it referenced a precedent from 1997, It was a case of reporting restrictions against a newspaper published in a PLC where it has decided, and I quote, no one should be in peril of suffering a criminal penalty for contempt unless the order which he is said to have infringed is clear. Okay? We've got evidence. It wasn't anywhere. There was no talk of an order. The crucial point is that all of this is irrelevant. The prosecutor just used all of these things in court as distraction tactics because I did not even breach the reporting order on that day. Even all the rules and regulations, The fact that the trial would come to an end, the failure of the court to notify the public of the existence of an order, I thought it weren't in place. Given how much the government have it in for me, I decided I would still not risk breaching it. During my training and my studying for contempt of court and looking at the judiciary's own guide, this is a guide that's issued for judges and the media on reporting restrictions. It mentioned one critical point, and I followed that critical point to the letter. The crucial bit of evidence, the crucial piece, is that on the judiciary's own website, it states, courts have no power under Section 4.2 to prevent publication of material that is already in the public domain. Now, this guide that I'm reading was approved by the Lord Chief Justice himself. Now, this is on the judiciary's own website. It's approved by the Lord Chief Justice, okay? I referenced this several times in my live stream that day. I stated clearly that if you watch the hour-long live stream, I was only referencing information already in the public domain. And they failed to make any clear detailed notifications of any reporting restriction in this case. According to legal precedent, that would mean they cannot hold me criminally liable. Please look at this case. They said it's wrong. They said, no, that's not the law. That's wrong. It's been on their website for 5 years. Let me just read this one bit. This guide is now in its third edition. This is from the Right Honourable Lord Chief Justice. I warmly thank Guy Vassall of Matrix Chambers for his work in revising this guidance to ensure its legal accuracy. It's legal accuracy. They said it's wrong. Their case against me was that what I read on their...
Let's be clear. The same guy trying to put you in prison said that that is the letter of the law and certified it as the law.
Well, the Lord Chief Justice, this is the previous Lord Chief Justice, but the court, the prosecutor for the Attorney General's government, just said that's wrong, that's not the law. Now, I knew when I was defending my case, it's clear the prosecution was determined to open a massive legal net no matter what. It's become apparent the minute the prosecutor for the Attorney General, Andrew Caldicott, that was his name, he said he was at court. Let me get him. So that's set on their website. On their website, which they then say is not accurate. And that is the guidelines for a journalist to go on. Now, last year, Leeds Crown Court broke every single legal procedure possible. They refused me my own legal representation. They didn't even tell me what I was accused of doing. They didn't ask me to plead guilty or not guilty. They didn't even let me speak. I was sentenced to 13 months in prison in a 10-minute trial, something you'd imagine being held in North Korea. It was rightly thrown out on my appeal after I spent 3 months in solitary confinement. Judge Marston decided that day that I needed to be immediately removed from the streets and sent to prison within minutes. The Muslim child rapist, with 16 witness statements detailing the rape and torture of children, he deemed they were no risk to the British public. He provided them with bail so they could continue to walk the streets alongside our children. Okay? alongside our children. Now, one of these men decided to do a runner. He done a runner a week before the case finished. He's still hiding in Pakistan. That dangerous child rapist monster was on the run for months before reporting restrictions were lifted. So because of these these reporting restrictions, we had a paedophile rapist on the run, and no one could even talk about it. Our media couldn't warn people. They couldn't even challenge for his whereabouts. The government's #1 priority, first and foremost, should be to ensure the safety of the British people. Exactly what President Trump is doing for America. The needs to suppress the scale of these gang rapes across my country trumps everything. This scumbag rapist is still walking the streets now. He's evaded justice thanks to Judge Marston. Do you know, in over 60 years, no one has ever been in prison for a publication reporting breach. No one. The Judiciary Reporting Restriction Guideline, which is on their website, doesn't even mention prison. It just mentions a reference of a possibility of unlimited fines. Can I just show you and your audience and show the public some previous high-profile cases so you can get the context on what's happening to me? Rod Liddell. Rod Liddell was a journalist. He nearly collapsed the Stephen Lawrence murder trial by detailing the defendant's previous criminal record. He risked collapsing the murder trial. He wasn't even prosecuted. The magazine he wrote for got a £3,000 fine. Journalists at the Daily Mail and the Daily Mirror, they published prejudicial information on the Levi Bellyfield murder trial. It was so prejudicial, it collapsed the entire case. The jury had to be discharged.